I knew we were done the moment I walked back from the shipping dock and found a stranger filming TikTok videos from my desk. The desk where I'd spent 21 years building a $650 million logistics empire they were about to sell to the highest bidder. She didn't even look up when I walked in. Just kept adjusting her ring light, practicing her influencer smile, her designer heels planted on my keyboard like it was a footrest at some country club. Then she hit post with the caption CEO things, finally running this empire. That's when I knew, not suspected knew, she just activated the clause I'd buried in the acquisition contract 3 months ago. The one nobody read, the one that would cost them everything. My name's Nathan Sullivan. I'm 52. 21 years turning a third-rate warehouse tracking system into the logistics platform that moves half the freight in the Midwest. I've seen every flavor of executive incompetence, the empty suit, the idea thief, the visionary who couldn't work a calculator without help. But Madison Ashford was something new. She wasn't pretending to be competent. She was flaunting her ignorance like it came with stock options. I wasn't mad. I was calm, the kind of calm that comes from knowing you already set the trap. Clause 7, page 43, buried under acquisition boilerplate. Nobody reads that stuff at 2 in the morning except guys like me. Any instance of reputational harm, misrepresentation of executive authority, or breach of confidentiality by an employee or associated party may result in immediate contract termination at the buyer's sole discretion. Madison had just publicly declared she was running the place from my desk. On day 1 of the acquisition, time-stamped, geo-tagged on the company network. I don't argue. I document. I didn't say a word to her. Just walked to the copy room, printed the acquisition packet I'd memorized 3 months ago, highlighted Clause 7 in pink, and slid it into an envelope. One sticky note attached with the screenshot, her face, that caption, location tag, and timestamp. Sent it to legal. CC'd no one, BCC'd everyone. Walked back and packed 1 box, my Navy coffee mug, a USB drive with every system architecture I'd built, and a photo of my fishing boat. Left my badge on her new desk. She didn't notice. HR waved as I walked out. Taking a half day, Nate? They didn't know. Nobody did. But systems always log who's at the console when the detonation button gets pushed, and Madison had just leaned all the way in. 3 months earlier, when acquisition talks started, I'd seen it coming. Diana Ashford as the new CEO, former McKinsey VP, good at PowerPoint, better at networking. The board loved her vision. What they got was a 52-year-old with a 24-year-old daughter who had 180,000 TikTok followers and zero understanding of how freight moves. I spent those months building exits. Every operational system ran through components I owned through my LLC. Sullivan Strategic Systems, formed when Diana's name first appeared. On industry blogs 2 years back. I'm not stupid. Been in this business long enough to know how it goes. The consultant shows up, the engineers disappear. Before long, you're embracing change while your server room gets outsourced to some kid who learned coding last semester. So, I built insurance. Every system ran through licenses I controlled, used with permission I could revoke with 24 hours notice. The buyer didn't know that yet. I drove to my storage unit, pulled out the binder I'd prepped when acquisition talks first started. Labeled it in Sharpie, in case of incompetence. Inside, patent filings, licensing docs, my LLC registration, every system contract that quietly ran through Sullivan Strategic Systems. I'd modularized everything, made it elegant, legal. Nobody noticed because they just saw faster systems and figured they'd been blessed by some tech fairy. Every dependency ran through my company, hidden in plain sight. By the time I got home and made coffee, black, no sugar, like I learned in the Navy, emails were already coming in. Legal confirming receipt, reviewing immediately. Procurement asking, can you clarify licensing ownership of the analytics layer? There it was, the first crack. The legal team went quiet when they opened my email. My name carries weight. 21 years of weight. Subject line, Clause 7, reputational breach. They thought it was a mistake at first, then they saw the screenshot. Madison's face. That caption. Finally running this empire. Time-stamped, public, posted during an active acquisition before the deal closed. Someone whispered, "Oh hell." Clause 7 wasn't decorative. The buyer's lawyers wrote it after 3 weeks of negotiations. It was a nuclear option. Any executive or affiliated party causing reputational harm or misrepresenting operational control meant immediate contract withdrawal. Buyer's discretion. No appeals. They printed it out, highlighted in yellow, circled in red. Running this empire. A junior counsel asked if maybe she meant it ironically. Beverly Lawson, the senior paralegal, didn't look up. Irony doesn't hold up in court. Perception does. And perception just went viral. The problem wasn't just the caption. It was who posted it, where, and when. The CEO's daughter, day one of a $650 million acquisition from the senior VP of systems desk, the guy who built every system the buyer was acquiring. Madison had declared herself in charge of something she had zero control over, with a digital footprint you could see from orbit. They ran a background check. Took 47 minutes. Her socials were wealth flexing, resort selfies, and terrible takes on business leadership. The post had already been shared on a logistics industry meme account with 85,000 followers. The buyer's lawyers would see it within the hour. By 10:15 a.m., legal escalated to Diana Ashford. Subject, urgent, Clause 7 triggered, buyer exposure risk. Screenshot attached. Clause quoted in full, language like material breach in contract. Nullification highlighted in red. Receipt showed Diana read it at 10:22. By 10:24, no response. When the CEO doesn't reply to that email, you're not dealing with leadership. You're dealing with someone calculating how to spin a disaster before everything collapses. They forwarded it up the board chain. Directors started replying, "Is this real? Who approved this? Who is Madison? Where's Nate?" Nobody had answers because the only person who could answer had already walked out. By 11:08 a.m., the buyer went silent. Integration calls canceled. Calendar invites vanished. The shared Slack channel turned into a graveyard. Just the quiet hum of high-level lawyers closing ranks. The first official message came at 11:28 a.m., a terse email from the buyer's external counsel, addressed to Diana Ashford, CCing half the known universe. Subject, urgent clarification request. Social media post attached. We have become aware of a public social media post referencing operational control of your company from an individual not listed on the transition org chart. Please advise. 1. The identity and title of Madison Ashford. 2. Her current role and responsibilities. And 3. Whether the statement "finally running this empire" was made in jest or represents an internal shift in authority. We are halting integration discussions pending written clarification. No greeting, no signature, just legal knives on the table. Diana didn't respond for 43 minutes. When she finally did, it was exactly what you'd expect from someone who thought Instagram clout outweighed corporate governance. The individual in question is my daughter, Madison Ashford. She has no formal title or authority within the organization. The post was an unfortunate attempt at humor and does not reflect the views or operational structure of the company. We are addressing the matter internally. Please advise next steps. She didn't deny it, just tried to shrink it, make it a harmless joke from a kid who didn't know better. But by then, Madison wasn't just a name. She was a cautionary tale trending on LinkedIn. Screenshots don't get deleted. Someone flagged the post to a mid-tier logistics influencer. Yeah, they exist. And it took off. Within the hour, the caption was everywhere. Nepo CEO or due diligence matters. The buyer's internal chat, which I still had access to through a credential I'd never surrendered, was melting down. One message from their head of risk. Is this real? They let the CEO's daughter sit at the SVP's desk on day one. Madison, completely unaware, was still wandering the office in her designer heels, complaining about the coffee selection, asking how to log into the admin thingy. When Diana finally pulled her into the glass-walled office and hissed, "Delete the post," Madison blinked like a confused deer. Why? It got like 200 likes. Diana grabbed the phone from her hand. Didn't matter. The internet had already archived it, reposted it, cross-posted it. One version had a mock inspirational background with crying, laughing emojis watermarked across her face. The buyer sent another note at 1:54 p.m. Pending resolution of this issue, all onboarding activities are suspended. Please refrain from contacting our implementation team until further notice. Panic spread through the building. Directors paced hallways. Someone was spotted Googling, "Can a clause really cancel a deal?" Diana still thought she could smile through it, still believed her consulting firm charisma could override a paper trail of incompetence. She stood in front of the executive team that afternoon. Let's not overreact. This is optics. We still have leverage. Someone coughed because everyone knew leverage doesn't come from pretending nothing happened. Leverage comes from knowing who controls the foundation. And I'd already walked off with the blueprints. The emergency board call was scheduled for 4:00 p.m. By 3:58, 6 directors were in the virtual waiting room, mics off, cameras dark, breathing heavy. Gerald Fisher, the oldest and meanest, signed on last, squinting at the screen like it owed him money. Diana logged in, smile ready. Madison nowhere in sight. "Let's begin," she said. "We're not beginning anything," Angela Torres snapped. Head of Risk Oversight, voice flat. "We're cleaning up. We need to start with an answer. Why is your daughter posting from Nate Sullivan's desk? Who gave her access? And why wasn't it revoked immediately?" Diana adjusted her collar. There was no formal access granted. It was casual. She didn't log into any systems. "Nobody cares if she touched a keyboard," Angela said. She posted a public statement implying executive control during an active acquisition. "Do you understand what that looks like?" "It was a misunderstanding. Do you understand what Clause 7 says?" Kenneth Hughes asked. "Have you even read it since you signed?" Diana opened her mouth. Another voice cut in. "Where's Nate?" "Richard Palmer, the board's most careful operator." Quiet voice. Dangerous question. "Nate has stepped away briefly," Diana said. "He what?" Gerald's face reddened. "He's the only person who understands the integration stack. We can't answer a single buyer question without him. I'll reach out to him directly." "Don't bother," Angela muttered. "He already sent the buyer's lawyers that email. You think he's coming back for a chat?" Silence, the kind where everyone's searching for a scapegoat. "I need a list," Gerald said. "Every system he touched, every vendor contract he approved, every patent or license tied to his name or any entity he's affiliated with." Diana swallowed. "We have some of that. Procurement is compiling." "Don't say some," Richard snapped. "We're flying blind. I just got off a call with Apex Industries. Their integration team asked 3 basic questions about the middleware structure. We had nobody who could answer. Diana tried to rally. "I'm handling it. We've got a strong foundation. The buyer will understand this was isolated." "Isolated?" Angela leaned forward. The buyer suspended all communication. "That's not isolated. That's a stranglehold." Kenneth's voice was measured. Deadly. "They've pulled out of 3 scheduled site visits." Their tone shifted. "They're using words like governance failure and brand risk. This isn't just about Madison. It's about leadership. And you still haven't answered the basic question," Gerald said. "Who let your kid into an executive desk on day 1 of a $650 million acquisition? Who gave her a badge?" Diana hesitated. "She borrowed my credentials." The silence was absolute. "Sweet mother of God," someone whispered. "So you're saying your unvetted, untrained daughter represented herself as an executive using your login credentials?" A junior board member unmuted. Diana didn't answer because there was no answer that didn't sound like gross negligence wrapped in nepotism. The board erupted. Muted shouts, raised hands. One director left the call entirely. The CFO spoke, voice thin. "We don't know who controls what anymore. Legal can't map the contracts without Nate. It says the analytics layer might be licensed through an external entity. Finance is chasing ghosts." "What entity?" Gerald barked. "Who owns it?" A pause. Then someone said it. "Sullivan Strategic Systems, Nate's Consulting LLC." Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Diana sat there blinking, sweating. The walls weren't closing in. They were already gone. At 7:31 a.m. the next morning, a courier delivered an envelope to legal by hand. Wax seal, signature required. Notice of material breach, Clause 7. Enforcement from Harrison & Associates LLP representing Apex Industries. The letter was surgical. Based on documented public misrepresentation of authority, Apex exercises its contractual right to halt acquisition proceedings effective immediately pending internal investigation. Our client reserves the right to terminate the agreement in full without financial penalty. Legal brought it straight to the executive floor. Diana scanned it, lips pressed thin, skin pale. "It's not final," she mumbled. "They invoked Clause 7, Angela said, tossing the second page on the table. "That is final. There's no renegotiation language. It's an eject lever. You pulled it. I didn't pull anything. He did. But the trap I laid wasn't just an email. That was the mousetrap clicking. The spring was still coming. By mid-morning, procurement finally dug up the full systems integration plan, the one I'd filed during early merger prep. It had been ignored because too technical, and Nate handles it. Now it was required reading. Page 12, Appendix A. A clause so ordinary-looking you'd miss it completely. All middleware components supporting core logistics systems shall be licensed through Sullivan Strategic Systems, LLC, with exclusive rights for deployment, adaptation, and modification. Someone read it aloud slowly. Sullivan Strategic Systems. Is that Nate? Yes, it was me. I'd built every line of code keeping their systems running. The fail-safes, the vendor logic, the routing algorithms, the buyer, called mission critical in 3 separate emails. And my LLC was quietly written into the heart of the acquisition. Nobody questioned it because it came from me. And who questions Nate Sullivan? Diana's face went white. That was supposed to be scrubbed before submission. I asked operations to sanitize that document. It's not scrubbed, Gerald said, holding up a printed copy. It's filed, digitally time-stamped, approved by 3 department heads and the merger task force. Diana stood. We can amend it. Remove it. Issue a revised plan. You're not listening, Angela said. The buyer already has this version. It was sent during due diligence. They built their integration map on this plan. It's not a draft. It's foundation. Diana turned to legal. Can we stop him legally? Is he allowed to hold our architecture hostage? Legal flipped through the binder, sweating. Technically, we don't own the middleware layer. We license it from his LLC. Diana's voice cracked. Then cancel the license. The attorney blinked. He included a survivability clause. Even if the deal collapses, license terms remain enforceable. Revocation requires mutual consent. Diana sat down hard. Nobody moved because they all knew what had just happened. The deal wasn't simply halted. It had been checkmated. Not by an angry board, not by a screaming buyer, by a guy who never raised his voice, never made a scene, and never fought for credit. Just control. And I had it. Every switch, every login key, every line of logic they had promised Apex. Mine. The virtual meeting opened with a polite chime. On one side, the full board, carefully positioned, stone-faced. On the other, Arthur Brennan from Apex Industries, tight-lipped, impeccably dressed, clearly deciding whether the ashes could be salvaged. And then I appeared. No fanfare, just my webcam. Clean garage workshop behind me, half-empty coffee mug in front. I didn't speak, didn't wave. Arthur broke the silence. Mr. Sullivan, thank you for agreeing to meet. I nodded once. He continued, I'll be direct. Apex is still interested in your systems. We believe in their integrity despite the complications on your former employer's end. He paused. I didn't fill the space. Would you be willing to license your systems to us independently, directly through your LLC? I didn't blink. Yes. A pause. The board exhaled too soon. Then I added, 4 times the original licensing rate. I want a seat on the board. Not advisory, full voting rights, or no deal. Long silence. Arthur turned to the board. No objections? Not after the month they'd had. Gerald muttered, motion to approve. Seconded, Angela said. Confirmed, Richard added. I didn't react, didn't thank them, just nodded and clicked leave meeting without a word. That afternoon, Diana Ashford's termination was finalized. The press release used standard language, pursuing new opportunities, grateful for her service. Internally, it was cleaner. Access revoked, name removed from Slack. Email forwarded to IT, her photo in the executive hallway taken down and replaced with a stock image of a shipping container. The company rebooted. New leadership, new structure, new terms. I didn't return as an employee. I didn't want the parking space or the corner office or the catered lunches. I wanted ownership. And I got it. Across the industry, the message spread quietly, but clearly. Nate Sullivan wasn't just back. He was the system now. If you wanted access to the logistics platform that moved freight across 6 states, you came to me. On my terms. The deal with Apex closed 5 weeks later. Restructured, new licensing agreement, 4 times the original rate, paid quarterly in advance, non-negotiable terms. My LLC maintained exclusive rights to all core systems. Any modifications required my approval. Any deployment needed my authorization. The board seat came with full voting rights, no advisory nonsense, real power. I attended my first board meeting 2 months after Diana's exit. Gerald nodded when I walked in. Angela gave a tight smile. Richard just said, Nate. No fanfare, no welcome speech. Just business. Exactly how I wanted it. The meeting covered Q4 projections, vendor contracts, system upgrades, normal operations. At one point, someone suggested bringing in a consultant to streamline legacy processes. I didn't raise my voice, just said, those legacy processes are mine. They work. Touch them, and you'll find out what legacy really costs. The suggestion died immediately. After the meeting, Gerald pulled me aside. You could have destroyed us completely. Why didn't you? I looked at him. Because I built this place for 21 years. I don't want to watch it burn. I just want to make sure idiots can't burn it down. He nodded slowly. Fair enough. Besides, I added, it's more profitable this way. That got a slight smile. Madison's post became a case study. I heard from 4 different business schools asking permission to use it in their governance classes. I said yes. On one condition. They had to cite Clause 7 in full and explain why due diligence matters. The story spread through industry circles like wildfire. Not because I promoted it, because people talk. Every CEO with a relative they wanted to give a chance suddenly got very nervous about their merger contracts. Every board started asking questions about who actually owned their core systems. Every legal team began reading the fine print at 2 a.m. Good. Diana landed at a mid-tier consulting firm, took a 60% pay cut. Her LinkedIn updated with the usual positive spin about new chapters and exciting challenges. Madison kept posting, different companies, same content, but someone must have warned her because the post stayed vague. No more location tags, no more claims about running anything. Her follower count dropped by 40,000. Turns out people don't want leadership advice from someone who cost her mother a $650 million deal. 6 months after everything settled, I got an email from a startup in Portland, subject Clause 7, consultation request. They'd just been acquired. New CEO wanted to bring in her son as head of innovation. The board was nervous. They wanted me to review their acquisition agreement and add protective language. I tripled my consulting rate. They paid it. Within a year, I had 9 companies on retainer. All of them wanted the same thing: insurance against incompetence. Legal language that protected the people who actually built the systems from the people who just wanted to run them. I called it the Sullivan Protocol. It wasn't fancy, just clear language that specified ownership, authority, and accountability, with automatic termination clauses if anyone misrepresented operational control. Clause 7 on steroids. Every contract included one non-negotiable term. If the clause gets triggered, I get paid. Win or lose, succeed or fail, my fee was guaranteed. Because the real value wasn't in preventing disasters. It was in making sure someone competent was still standing when the dust settled. By the end of the 2nd year, my LLC was generating more revenue than my old salary. By the 3rd year, it was 4 times more. I worked from my workshop, set my own hours, took the projects I wanted. No office politics, no performative meetings, no executives asking me to circle back on things they should have read the first time, just clean contracts, clear terms, and companies willing to pay for someone who actually knew what they were doing. The irony wasn't lost on me. Diana had tried to modernize the company by bringing in fresh blood, her daughter. Instead, she'd created an industry where experience mattered more than ever, where the guys who built the systems from scratch became untouchable, where nepotism became a liability companies couldn't afford. I'd turned one TikTok post into a new business model. One evening, I was on my deck, storm rolling in across the fields, thunder in the distance, coffee in hand, black, no sugar. My laptop buzzed. Another consultation request, then another. A Fortune 500 company, a logistics startup, an industrial manufacturer. All of them with the same basic problem. They'd built something valuable and were terrified someone incompetent would destroy it. I didn't smile, just opened the first email and started reading. This was the job now, not building systems, but building protection for the people who did. Making sure that when some executive's kid decided to play CEO on social media, there was a clause waiting. Page 43, highlighted in pink, ready to detonate. The rain started soft at first, then steady. I stayed on the deck and watched it come in. 21 years I'd spent making that company run, building every system, fixing every failure, working weekends while executives took credit in Monday meetings. They thought I was replaceable, thought my experience didn't matter, thought a 24-year-old with a ring light could do what I did. One clause proved them wrong. One email made them pay attention. One negotiation made them pay. Period. I took a sip of coffee, still hot. The consulting requests kept coming in and I kept my rates high. Because competence isn't cheap, but incompetence? That's expensive as hell. And I'd just proven exactly how much it costs. The best part wasn't the money, though that was nice. It wasn't even the revenge, though watching Diana scramble had been satisfying. It was the respect. After 21 years of being the guy who made things work while others took credit, I'd become the guy companies called when they needed to make sure things kept working. They spent 21 years thinking I was replaceable. Turns out I wasn't replaceable. The company was. And now everyone in the industry knew it. The storm passed, like they always do, but the lesson stuck. And every time some CEO's kid thought they could play executive on social media, somewhere a lawyer was reading Clause 7, wondering if their client had the same protection. Most of them didn't. That's where I came in.